You know, one of the most dramatic differences between my time as a school child many decades ago and today is the sheer complexity and the volume and the richness of the information world that our kids are growing up. We've seen dramatic changes in the way that information is presented. We've seen the burgeoning growth of the digital environment. Kids are now with the world of information in their pockets. They're accessing information in very different ways to when I was at school. I've spent almost 50 years in education, starting as a classroom teacher, ultimately as a school librarian, ultimately as a professor in library and information science, and my whole life of research has centered on how do kids learn and connect and interact with this information. How do they take it in, and how do they process it from a cognitive point of view? In more recent years, I've focused on how do you engage kids in this information world. They typically go to Google, they come up with 3.5 million websites. What happens? What goes through the minds of these kids? How do they engage with this? One of the areas of my focus has been on understanding the power and the capacity and the nature of help that school libraries provide. I'm deeply committed to the role of school libraries in schools. You know, our human brains are truly wonderful entities as part of ourselves. But what is our information processing? And there's certainly a body of research on information overload that suggests that in this volume of information we reach a certain point where our understanding, our thinking, our capacity to manage this becomes problematic, perhaps dysfunctional. So the challenge is, how do we provide kids with the intellectual capacity to sort their way through this information, to develop their search processes more effectively, to develop their capacity to evaluate, do we really need a school library? We've got the internet, let's get rid of the school library. And I think that this is both uninformed and almost ignorant kind of thinking. It's such a fallacy to think in this information environment we don't need this place. And it's not just the development of digital capacity, it's the development of engaging kids in motivation and enjoyment of reading, providing opportunity for free access to reading materials. That, you know, that's historically been a central role of school libraries, and more than ever, giving our kids that power to read and to love read. It's been a real privilege for me to be here, and I'm entirely grateful for the opportunity of SM to bring me here.